DocTalk is brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim Vetmedica Inc., the makers of Pyramid 5 plus Presponse SQ, a market leader in combination respiratory vaccines.
Hi there, folks. Welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson. I'm glad that you joined us today. It's going to be a great show. Our guest is the section leader for Veterinary Toxicology from Iowa State University's College of Veterinary Medicine, Dr. Steve Ensley. And we're going to talk about ergot toxicity and things that can be associated with that, whether it's cattle or horses. Stay tuned and enjoy the show.
Say this is a calf that's been run through the chute a few too many times. Going through the chute stresses cattle, causing them not to eat like they should. Luckily, Pyramid 5 plus Presponse SQ provides proven protection against key respiratory diseases in a single shot, with just one trip through the chute. Talk to your veterinarian about Pyramid 5 plus Presponse SQ, and soon your calves will relax and eat like a whole different animal.
Closed caption brought to you by AgriLabs, the perfect pairing of performance and value. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me here. One of the things that we'd like to talk about is ergot toxicity. This year has been particularly problematic in the Midwest in general with ergot. It's a fungus that will grow on grasses and produces a chemical similar to what fescue does. So this year, not only have we had some of the issues with fescue grass that we normally see, but when this fungus, a second fungus grows on the seeds and produces the same similar toxin, then those effects become additive. So not only do we have issues with fescue that we normally do, but we'll also double the dose basically with some of these ergot infestations that we've seen because of the cool wet spring. In the Midwest last year we had a lot of rain. It looks like the drought was over. Rained till the end of May. It quit at the end of May, and then we didn't see. The rain was very spotty then from then on, but that cool, wet, early part of the year was ideal for this Claviceps purpura fungus that grows on there. And so it infected a lot of the grasses that we make hays out of, besides the grasses that we graze. And so a lot of the animals that may be on fescue during the summertime get to eat hay in the fall and winter then that's not infected. This year we didn't get that opportunity because we had this ergot that infected the grass, and we're still seeing issues right now with that.
So what types of grasses are we most commonly seeing it in?
Well, normally we can see it in any of the grasses. We've seen it anywhere from Timothy hay to brome hay. Any of the grasses or anything with a seed head is going to be susceptible to this fungus when the environmental conditions are right. And so those grasses that don't produce the endophyte like fescue does, will not be as bad as fescue. But we have a lot of fescue in our pastures, a lot of fescue in our hay meadows, and so when we have the fescue alkaloid, the ergovaline, in addition to these ergot alkaloids from ergot, it's been a significant issue.
Well, so wet spring followed by a drought is kind of the perfect
storm for the ergot. That's exactly what it likes. And this year we normally have ergot. We see ergot in our grasses, but not to the extent that we've seen this year. The numbers of ergot infestations are very high. And we've done some survey work, probing bales to see what concentrations of these ergots have been, and they've been extremely high.
And what are some of the limits then when we're talking about ergot infestation?
Some of the same things that we talk about when cattle are grazing fescue, the the heat intolerance in the summertime. They get fat necrosis or have the potential to do that. Also, it's vasoconstrictive, so it can affect the ends of the ears, tail tips, and hooves. And those are summertime problems. In the wintertime, what we see then is that vasoconstriction again, causing lameness, intermittent lameness issues that are related to the blood supply to the hoof. So we can have anywhere from, intermittent lameness all the way to hoof necrosis, where the animal actually loses the hoof. And we've seen some of that this year in cattle. And horses are particularly sensitive. They're even more sensitive than cattle. So,
well, let's take a break and let's come back and let's touch more on the equine side of things.
okay.
You're watching DocTalk, and we're glad that you joined us.
This segment was brought to you by Brute Cattle Equipment, makers of the Brute Stealth Hydraulic Chute. If the chute fits, swear by it. Visit our website for more information.
Working your cattle just got easier. Introducing the new VetGun delivery system, a new way to apply topical insecticides to your cattle. The VetGun lets you remotely treat cattle with effective parasite control, so you can do it from an ATV, on horseback, or just walking among the herd. It's that simple. The proven topical insecticide AML VetCap is used with the VetGun. It works fast to control horn flies and lice while minimizing stress on your cattle. Fast, easy, effective. VetGun. Check with your animal health supplier for availability.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
I think people are just kind of born with a passion.
I wouldn't be where I am today without that horse.
Oh, I'm not passionate about horses. That's just something that's in here. I can't explain it.
Some people go to a job every day. I just go do what I love to do. That's all I know is horse.
The bottom line, we're for the horse. It's whatever we can do to make life better for the horse. Wherever they are, whatever they do.
They're just magic, that's all. They got me.
If we always do what's right for the horse, we will never go wrong.
This segment is brought to you by Norbrook Laboratories, manufacturers of Enroflox 100, the newest addition to your arsenal for treating bovine and swine respiratory disease.
Hi there, folks. Welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson, here with Dr. Steve Ensley. And Steve, you're the section leader of toxicology at Iowa State's College of Veterinary Medicine, which, you guys see a lot of cases and have a tremendous history for veterinary diagnostics and veterinary toxicology, and glad to have you on the show. And Ergot is one of those that, whether it's fescue or whatever, it's been around since Moby Dick was a minnow.
Right. I mean, a lot of the French Revolution was blamed on ergot ingestion. A lot of historical events, even the witchcraft trials in Salem, were blamed on ergot ingestion. People get hallucinogenic when you consume those. So ergot, as long as there's been grains and people have been consuming those, there's been issues with ergot.
Now, we don't want people going out and eating fescue.
No. Well, a lot of the ergot, we have wheat, the small grains, the rye, the barleys, the wheats get ergotized, and historically they made bread out of those, had the chemical in there, and then people ingest it, and actually see the same things in animals that we do see in humans.
The heat intolerance was the one that was the classic sign for me when I would have cattle come into feed yards or come in off a pasture, and it'd be 80 degrees, and all the other cattle are doing fine, and here's a pen that is open mouth breathing and can't stomach it.
Exactly. Ergot, or the fescue, the endophyte infected fescue grass has gradually, moved across the U.S. 10 years ago, we didn't have problems in Iowa with it. Now it's a common grass in our fields, and it's moving north all the time. It's a very hardy, well-adapted grass, does fine. except the animals, you know, when the endophyte is high in a high enough concentration, the animals just cannot tolerate, you know, the dose they get when they have to ingest that every day. And horses particularly are a species that's very sensitive, even more sensitive than cattle, probably the most sensitive to the ergots that we see in their grasses and hays. And one of the problems that we see this time of year is prolonged gestation. And if a pregnant mare is on the ergotized grasses or fescue grass even, they won't foal. They'll maintain the foal and their foaling date. You know, they'll exceed their foaling date by weeks sometimes. And then when they do foal, they've got an oversized fetus. The placenta is edematous, and they also become very agalactic with that. So if they do manage to have a foal alive, you know, the agalactia issue can be as serious as anything else that we see.
So when we talk about, you know, earlier in the gestation period, it can cause some abortion issues.
It's potential for abortion issues, especially because it's heat related. You know, animals are being bred when it's hot, and they can't maintain normal temperatures. So we do feel like we see abortion issues, and have this last year, you know, because of the ergotized greens.
So take-home message is if you're gonna, you know, during a drought situation, make sure you get your hay tested.
Right. This year particularly, it's been an issue. You need to know the status, and especially, you know, your grasses that you graze. You know, we need to be able to get animals off of those, you know, periodically if we can, to be able to manage those. And so testing is one of the strategies that we've used.
Good. When we come back from the break, folks, we're going to continue on with Dr. Steve Ensley. He's a world of knowledge for us on veterinary toxicology. Tickled to have him here, and we'll see you here in just a minute.
This Meet the Veterinarian is brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals. Dr. Robert Gentry has 31 years of experience in mixed practice, focusing a majority of his time on beef cattle. As a founding director of the Academy of Rural Veterinarians, Dr. Gentry recognizes the need to encourage interest in life as a rural practitioner and advocate for rural veterinarians. He served as vice president of ARV in 2011 and 2012.
As dependable as the sunrise, in dairy parlors, open pastures, on ranches and feed yards across America, a place where reputation is more than a name, where the science of healthier animals is a way of life. It's the responsibility that drives who we are and what we do. Every decision, every day. It's your livelihood and our responsibility.
This hog is Hanover hoof for meal made from U.S. soybeans. Now, one hog isn't that impressive, but suppose we add another, and another, and another. Before long, you've got billions of hungry customers around the world all clamoring for the same thing. Our soybeans. Learn more about the billion-dollar appetite of animal agriculture at BeyondTheElevator.com. Brought to you by America's soybean farmers and their checkoff.
The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine is a leader in food animal research and education. Our researchers are constantly expanding the knowledge of animal health and food safety. Through the Veterinary Health Center and the Kansas State Veterinary Diagnostic Lab, we provide practical services for animal producers. Home of the Beef Cattle Institute, the college is committed to animal welfare training and research. The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine, knowledge and service for the future of animal production.
Beef producers asked for it, and Norbrook delivers. Introducing new Enroflox 100, the newest addition to your arsenal for treating bovine respiratory disease. Enroflox 100 is an FDA-approved, ready-to-use injectable antimicrobial solution to treat BRD associated with Mannheimia hemolytica, Pasteurella multocida, and Histophilus somni in beef and non-lactating dairy cattle. Administered SQ as a multiple-day therapy. Consult with your veterinarian today about Enroflox 100, the new choice. TrueTest Group, weighing systems, electronic identification, EID, electric fencing, and dairy automation systems help farmers and ranchers around the world manage the performance of their livestock for ultimate profitability.
Folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Steve Ensley. And Steve, during the break, we're talking a little bit about, you know, cows and gestation and calving and things like that. We talked about the horses and prolonging gestation. What are some of your recommendations on cows?
What we've seen this year is because of the high ergot alkaloid in our grasses that cattle were grazing, we saw some abortions we felt like were related to the cows ingesting the ergot, inability to regulate their body temperatures, and so on hot days, they don't want to don't want to move. They're trying to look for shade, so they don't want to breed. If you and the bulls affected as well. The bulls suffer from the same things the cows will. But so we did see some cases where we had high open numbers when the cows were pregnancy tested this fall, and we feel like those were related to some of the ergot issues that we've seen.
And then when you have them on the hay and they're gestating, there's points in times where they can tolerate it, but then you have to get them off.
Right. I mean, they can normally we like to have them off if they've got a grazed fescue in the summertime, get them on hay in the fall and the winter that doesn't have any ergot or fescue in there. But if we don't have any alternative and we have to feed it, we've been feeding that to late gestation cows, but trying to make sure we get them off of that at least a month before calving, and hopefully that'll be enough time. These ergot peptides are very tightly bound on the vessel surfaces and make them constrict, and so the bad thing about exposure is it can take a long time to wash out, to get rid of the compound totally. So they can tolerate it for a while, but late, if it's calving season right now, we want to get them off because we don't, we're worried about the agalactia and other issues associated with it.
And we have an agalactia for non-veterinarians?
No milk. So they have no milk. Yeah, sorry about that. I mean,
all
normally we'll see, cows that the udder looks fine, the calves are born, but there's no milk or very little milk, and they don't get, and that affects the amount of colostrum also that they're able to produce. So
big
time problem this year. Has been particularly problematic for us.
Agrochriosis from agalactia to from the cow to the calf.
Right.
And when we see them come in the feedlot, and we see those weaned calves come in the feed yard, it does take a while. It seems as though they get over it faster on a grain diet.
Right.
The washout period is shorter if we put those animals on, switch them over to the 2 ration or 3 ration.
Right.
But still going to take quite a while.
Yeah, we've looked at a lot of intervention strategies when we get animals in, to get them off of there. What do we do for horses? We do have a compound, domperidine, that you can treat a mare with that will alleviate the negative effects of these ergots, but it's not cost effective in cattle. It's just so we are limited about what strategies we can do to try to limit the impact.
Well, and we also have to keep withdrawal times and
correct,
and consumption things in mind that we don't have to with the companion animals.
Right. That's a big issue. A safe food supply is one of the things that we're all very interested in, and ergot can complicate that a lot.
You bet. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up our discussion today with Dr. Steve Ensley from Iowa State University, talking about ergot toxicity. Stay tuned.
Hello, I'm Dr. Chris Blevins at Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center, and today, for a horse tip, we're going to talk about fly spray. Fly spray can be all kinds of realms of different things, oil-based, water-based. What's the best thing? If there would be the super save-all and protect-all, everybody would be using it, but it is variable, and it's because fly spray actually gets degraded by sunlight, so that's why it doesn't last that long on the horse, or we think that flies are resistant to it. So reapplication is going to be important. Be careful with the oil-based products because it can cause a dermatitis or irritation of the skin if it gets too thick. There's also different things you can apply over the mane and tail, kind of spot applications. Those can be also very beneficial, not just for flies, but also for ticks and other external parasites that might be bothering your horse.
Hello friends, I'm Ernie Rodina.
And I'm Dawn Dawson with the Better Horses Radio Show.
For over 9 years, we've been bringing the Better Horses Radio Show to markets all across the Midwest. We talk about God, lots about horses.
We talk about cows, we talk about horse health, we talk to top trainers, and we even talk about Roy Rogers.
We're having a blast with Better Horses Radio Show and would love to take it to a market near you.
So visit our website at betterhorsesradio.com and let us or your local radio station know you'd like to hear it in your area.
The Better Horses Radio Show is unbelievable.
Hi, I'm Kevin Oxner, host of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman and Colorado Rancher. Join me each week as the National Cattlemen's Beef Association brings you the latest updates in industry information and market news. Plus, each week we provide important educational information and features on cattlemen from across the country just like you. And we can't forget our favorite cowboy poet, Baxter Black. Join me for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, debuting Tuesday nights at 8:30 Eastern, right here on RFD TV.
Say this is a calf that's been run through the chute a few too many times. Going through the chute stresses cattle, causing them not to eat like they should. Luckily, Pyramid 5 plus Presponse SQ provides proven protection against key respiratory diseases in a single shot, with just one trip through the chute. Talk to your veterinarian about Pyramid 5 plus Presponse SQ, and soon your calves will relax and eat like a whole different animal.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Folks, welcome back to Doc Talk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with the section leader for veterinary toxicology, Dr. Steve Ensley, and he is on staff at Iowa State University's College of Veterinary Medicine, and we're talking about ergot toxicity and so one of the things we decided we probably better talk to him about testing, and you do that every day in your lab.
Exactly. That's kind of our key, or that's our part of the diagnostic process, is how do we quantitate what the exposure is and then try to determine risk. So there we can test the forages or grasses for these different ergopeptides. So what we look for in pasture grass, if you want to collect seed heads or grass in general, take some swaths, about a pound. We'd like to get about a pound of the material. And then we process that, try to make it homogeneous, then we analyze that for these different alkaloids that are in there. But so grass samples you can collect, because we do some of that to see how much fescue is there and how much of this alkaloid is in there, because the fescue grass actually, it's a defense mechanism. So when it's drought stressed and it's not getting the water it needs, the alkaloid concentration will go up in the grass seed as well, or in the grass itself. And when it goes to seed is when it's particularly problematic. So you want to prevent, if you've got fescue grass and you're grazing it in the summertime, prevent it from going to seed, because the concentration is 10 times higher in the seed than it is in the rest of the
And that's the reason why you'll see some people out there on their paddocks mowing it before seeds, before it heads out or before it heads out.
And then once you make hay, in this year in particular, what we like to do is we like to sample the bales, but we want to make sure if you're going to probe the bale, the sample, that you go in from the side of the bale, not the cut face.
Not the end.
Not the end or the core, because we want to get a cross section of the seed heads and as much grass as we can, through the whole, through that whole bale. And when we go through the side and make a probe there, we just get one section of the grass, not a good distribution. So one of the keys is
do you go all the way across that?
We try. It depends on the size of the probe. We'll collect as many probe samples as we can, mix that sample. Maybe I have people try to carry a 5-gallon bucket, probe as many bales as they can, put that into a 5-gallon bucket, mix that up, and then send about a pound of that to me to analyze. We get a good representative sample and can feel like we can give you good information on your risk associated with those bales.
How many bales should they?
Well,
or just get that 5-gallon bucket full?
Yeah, if you get that 5-gallon bucket full, sample as many as you can. The more hay you have, the more samples we get, the more random distribution. The biostatisticians love that. More samples is better. And we love that too. So, take as many as you can. Take 2 5-gallon buckets if you want to. Mix those up, grab a subsample out of that, and that's what we like to test.
Okay. And then on the grass samples in the pasture, is there any place in the field that you shouldn't test? Or I remember we used to throw a Frisbee, and then wherever it landed was kind of the random place.
Exactly. Well, what I usually tell people to try to do is draw a diagonal line somewhere across the pasture and walk across that line, and then every 10 steps take a sample and collect it. And because what we're trying to do is get as random of a sample as we can from there. So Frisbee method, 5-gallon bucket method, I think any of those are all acceptable.
Well, thanks a million for being on the show today. It's always good information and fun to have you here.
You bet. Yeah, anytime. I love to talk about veterinary toxicology. So.
Well, we're going to have you back.
All right. Sounds good.
And thank you for watching today's show. Remember, always work with your local veterinarian. And if you want to find out more about what we do on DocTalk, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson here from the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University. Thanks for watching the show, and I'll see you down the road. Closed caption brought to you by AgriLabs, the perfect pairing of performance and value.
For more information about this program or previous programs, go to DocTalkTV.com. DocTalk was brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim Vetmedica Inc., the makers of Pyramid 5 plus Presponse SQ, a market leader in combination respiratory vaccines.